On last week's episode of Boruto, a lot of people came up to me on my review and put up some comments about Sumire not being the masked villain, okay? Now, we don't know 100% for sure Sumire is the masked villain, okay? All we know is that, for example, there are a lot of certain situations that just favor that specific theory as opposed to the one where people are saying, you know, maybe she's a victim. On the last episode, there was a shot of her being missing from her hospital bed and having the window open when Mitsuki said, "I know who's behind the attacks." So there are two possible scenarios that could take place in next week's episode. Okay, if that is when they're gonna reveal who the masked villain is. There are two possible scenarios, and these are the ones that have been specifically one that I believe, and then there's the other one that people have been giving me in the other review that I posted. So the one that people have been giving me in the review that I posted was that perhaps somebody went to the hospital. You know, the masked villain himself went to the hospital and took her and made her, you know, controlled her like he does with the other characters that got manipulated and their chakra sucked out. Makes sense. It's not really too far-fetched, so it's very believable. Now, when you think about that, you think about, okay, that's believable, but then you look at the other side of the argument, or at the other side of the spectrum, which is her being the masked villain, okay? Look at all the dots. First of all, she was at the purification plant, and it just so happens that the masked villain escaped through some kind of sewer system or pipe system, which coincides with the fact that she was at a purification plant. Okay, she could have easily been there just to study how the pipes work, you know, what are the main ways she could escape and whatnot whenever she does the attacks. And it could easily, and since she was doing the attacks in random areas of the Leaf Village, it could easily be a way for her to study the sewer system, so that way it's a lot easier for her to be able to escape. Now here's the thing, there's another one. Okay, when she got quote-unquote hurt at the purification plant, she didn't get discharged like the other two girls. There was two other girls with her that got hurt, but they got discharged way earlier than her, okay? Leaving her alone in that hospital room where there wasn't anybody checking in on her or constantly checking if she was resting or recovering outside of the door, okay? And at the same time, all the rest of the cast are working on the incidents. They're working on who's behind the incidents, why they're happening, and at the same time they're stumped. They're looking all over the place. So they got their eyes somewhere else. They're not checking at the class rep because she's not even suspicious to begin with, so they're not really looking over her and kind of keeping an eye on her. That gives her an opportunity to slip in and out of the hospital without being noticed, do the attack, collect the chakra, and then go back to the hospital and pretend like nothing happened. Okay? Now here's the other thing. On the last week's episode, you know, there was a lot of talk of the class rep, and it seemed a little suspicious to me. Specifically when Mitsuki was asking about Boruto, how do people feel about Boruto? What gravitates people to Boruto? Inojin brought up the class rep about how she's more stressed than everybody else when it comes to Boruto. And Mitsuki went to visit her, and I found that weird. Like, they honestly normally, on at least on Shippuden and regular OG Naruto, they never did that kind of stuff unless that character had some kind of important role to play, right? So why would Mitsuki visit the class rep specifically? And then why would they give us some little inkling of the backstory for Sumire? It just makes no sense to me. Now here's the other thing. People are saying that she could very well be the victim. I feel like that in and of itself is another proof as to why she could be the masked villain. And let me explain what I mean by that. Okay? Why would they make her a villain? Well, not a villain. I'm sorry. Why would they make her a victim for a second time unless there was some role for her to play? Like, I could understand her being a victim twice if she had something of value to the masked villain. If she had something important to play in either awakening the new, let's say she had special chakra or something, I don't know. That's the only real reason I could see her being like a victim in. Okay, other than that, everything else points to her being the masked villain. Because, first of all, like I said, nobody's keeping an eye on her, giving her a very good amount of, I guess, time and space to be able to slip in and out and do whatever she gotta do. The pipe system escape that she did on what is it, a few episodes ago, all of that kind of points to her, okay? Now, again, let me just rephrase this. It could be completely a misdirection, okay? A lot of TV shows like to do misdirections, which is they lead you to believe one thing to then, when a reveal happens, they just surprise the fuck out of you, all right? Because you weren't seeing it coming. Because the thing is, they make you believe this by giving you hints, okay? They give you like subtle hints. For example, when Mitsuki told Boruto, I know who the masked villain is, and then they showed the class rep's bed, it wasn't fucking subtle. I'll tell you that much. It wasn't subtle, but still. They're making you want to go that route. So if it isn't the masked, if it isn't the class rep, and it's somebody else, that would be a misdirection, because they want you to believe that the class rep is the one behind it, just so they can have another. They can either introduce another character, or they can just introduce somebody that's of actual shock value, right? Somebody that like, oh shit, that's the one behind the mask or whatever. But other than that, man, fully, I'm gonna end the video here. Let me know what you guys specifically think. Do you go with the side of her being the villain, or do you go with the side of her being the victim? Okay. Now, personally, the masked villain isn't the main boss. I'll tell you guys right now. Since we heard an old guy talk about the new and awakening the new, I'm assuming that this masked villain just works under that specific person that we heard talking. Alright, they're not the main boss, but still, it's gonna be kind of cool just to see the reveal and whatnot. But I'm gonna end it here, alright guys? Let me know specifically which side you stand on, and when the episode comes out on Wednesday, maybe, hopefully, we'll see a reveal, and we'll see who wins. Anyways guys, I'm out. Peace.